here with our 5 strength training top tips today. For those of you that don't know me or have just met me recently this week, I know there's a couple people getting started with our programs here soon. I'm Aubrey. I'm the owner of Vitality Fitness and Wellness. I started this company 7 years ago. We offered, in-home personal training as well as in-studio personal training through small groups and private sessions. Throughout this last year, we've really transitioned and we're now all virtual, and it's really working wonderfully. I'm really proud of our participants and our trainers for really stepping up and really embracing this change. But we've really been able to see you, we've been able to see our participants, we've been able to still get those great workouts, still challenge everyone, and still make that progress, even though we're not next to each other in person. So it's really been wonderful. So I appreciate everyone for that. Most of our members have pretty similar goals. A lot of people, when they reach out to us, have not been in a regular routine for their exercise and they want to get back into it. Most people are looking to improve their strength. They want to feel better, feel stronger, improve their balance, improve their endurance. And some of them have like a laundry list of little aches and pains that kind of get them here and there that they'd like to get rid of. So that's kind of a little bit about us. And then we'll go on for these tips. So I already went through that. Sorry. So here we are with our strength training tips. So why do we need to do strength training? You've probably heard me say this before if you know me. So it's one of the top things that I talk about is that strength training is so important. I know a lot of people get started with their workouts and they're doing walking, which is really good for your body, but we need to push that a little bit more. We need to do some regular strength training for our body because starting as early as in our 30s, we start to lose muscle mass in just a natural process of aging. So I know it's like when you wake up, I remember when my husband turned 30, which we're both well over that by now, but I remember the morning he turned 30, he woke up and he's like, oh man, my back hurts. It's like, it just feels like it's inevitable, right? But that those aches and pains just start right away. But that's what happens is slowly our body, if we're not actively working on strength training, if we're not doing regular resistance exercise, our muscle mass starts to decrease a little bit. And we start to, not have that protection on our joints. Our joints start to become a little bit less stable. And then those little aches and pains can pop up along the way, as well as you might notice a little bit more difficulty doing regular things. I know especially in women, we tend to feel like our upper body loses it even more so. Like maybe we didn't quite have as much strength in our upper body as always, as we felt like we should have, but now we feel like it's even harder. Like we need 2 hands to lift something, or just like a little bit harder in through our upper body. So strength training is really important. So that's why the main thing that I want to talk about this evening, and I'll give you some tips about how and when and what we do, everything. So the first thing I wanted to say is it's so important to listen to your body. And you guys have just brought up a couple of those concerns, right? With the elbow and the back and all those things. It's so good that you're hearing those things. And now you need to make sure that you're paying attention to them and adjusting for them. So most, people that start with us, as I mentioned, haven't been, super regular with their exercise, haven't been in a strict routine for years and years. And so it's important that you start slow. Try not to push it too hard, too fast. It can be really tempting if you are trying to make up for lost gains, to go, full in, go all in and kind of push yourself to the max. But that is the worst thing that you can do. I've seen it happen, not often in our programs because we try to guide you through, but I've seen it happen when I worked for years in physical therapy, especially when there was the craze of the P90X and that kind of thing, where people were just going crazy pants, all in, doing crazy exercises, intense exercises for their body that they hadn't built up the stability. They hadn't built up the strength first, and a lot of injuries happened. So you want to start slow and listen to your body. if you are feeling some of those aches and pains, or if you're starting to feel your back, twinge, or your elbow bother you, try to take a look at your technique. Try not to push through it. You don't want to push through it. You want to kind of pause for a second, even if you're in one of our workouts. I know, the momentum can get going and you can kind of feel like the pressure to kind of keep up. Doesn't matter. Kind of pause, take a beat, kind of reset your technique, reset your posture. We're always talking about in our sessions, tucking those core muscles in. Bunch of times I've explained, different ways to do so. But you want to make sure that, most times your shoulders should be directly over your hips. Your pelvis should be in a pretty neutral stance. It shouldn't be tilted forward or backwards. And you want to think about, there's a couple ways to think about it. You can think about it where if I was going to be absolutely horribly mean and I was going to reach through the screen and punch you in the tummy, you could kind of tuck in and brace yourself. You'd brace those tummy muscles without tilting your body, right? You'd keep that neutral stance, but you'd kind of tuck in those muscles and brace yourself. Another way to think about it that's pretty common for most of us at this point is trying to pull on a pair of pants that are a little too tight. So you're kind of sucking in those tummy muscles up and in, and then kind of pulling on those pants. That's two different ways to think about it. But the most important thing here is to reset. Kind of take that moment. Don't try to push through it. Reset your posture. Tuck your core muscles in, or if it's an elbow, reset your arm position. Is my elbow locked out? Does it need a slight bend? Is that the twinge that I'm feeling? Am I feeling it in the muscle or the joint? If it's in the joint itself, it might need just a slight bend in your elbow instead of being locked out. So there's a couple things that you can do and check those techniques. Also, if you did pause and stop for those techniques and you're still not feeling perfect with that exercise, that's a time to reach out to one of us or stay on at the end of a session and say, hey, I'm not quite sure I really got the technique for this exercise. I know I tried to adjust it with your cues, but could you go through it with me? Or reach out to us and we can pop on here on a private Zoom and give you some cues real quick and fix the problem pretty easily. So the biggest tip that I have is to listen to your body. The next tip I have is talking about specificity. So there's a couple principles of strength training, and specificity is the number one that we focus on. So specificity means that you need to do the activity that you want to do to get better at that activity. So if I wanted to learn how to play the guitar, which I don't know how to play the guitar at all, I would need to actually get a guitar and practice the guitar, right? That makes real sense. I would have to do maybe some scales and then try to learn a song, but I would actually have to practice playing the guitar to get better at the guitar. Same thing with your strength training. It's much, much better if you are doing dynamic functional movements that you might see in your daily life, if that's what you want to get better at and stronger at, which most of us do. It's much, much better to do those dynamic functional movements rather than sitting on a machine at the gym and trying to go for the leg extension or the leg press or sitting. You want to actually work on maybe some sit-to-stands or some squats instead, because it's a very, very functional activity. I have heard doctors mention every now and then, this drives me nuts, there'll be a doctor that comes along and tells someone, never ever reach over your head with a weight, or never ever squat. And that is really crazy, because in our day, how many times have you reached up into the overhead cabinet or the shelf and put a stack of clothes up there? Or how many times have you put a couple cans up onto your top shelf? Those things are going to happen, and you should be strong for them. So you can build up your stability and you can work on those things as long as you're doing it in the right way. Not saying that you should grab a 10-pound weight and start pushing it overhead and do it repeatedly. That's not what we're saying, but we need to build the strength and stability the right way so that you can do that activity. Same thing for a squat. A squat is a very functional motion. Some people think, oh, I can't do it because I have bad knees. But if you know the the right technique and you build your way up to it, then you can do that. And you're going to need that position to get up from a low couch. I had somebody, I was talking to her on Thursday, I think it was, and she said she literally went out and bought a whole new living room set because she couldn't get up from her couch, which is like a sad situation to be in, right? Like you would rather, hopefully you could get yourself stronger so that you could get up from that couch rather than having to buy yourself a whole new living room set for that situation. So it's a very functional motion, which is my point. And if we can do our exercises in a very dynamic and functional way, we're going to see more carryover into our lives. The third tip that I have here is how much strength training do I need? And this goes also on to Glenda's question where we talked about, do I need to do my strength training by body zones? Do I need to do it by upper body, one full workout, and then lower body, one full workout? Or should I do a core and lower body, or how should I mix it up? So in general, you want to have anywhere between 2 and 4 strength training workouts a week. So that's what's recommended. And we want to do 8 to 12 repetitions of each exercise. And then, so that would be, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then you want to do sets of those repetitions. So you want to pause for about a minute in between, or work on a different body area, and then go back and do another set of that exercise. So you want to do anywhere between 2 and 4 sets of that exercise for that body area or whatever you're working on that one. So the way that we do our workouts at Vitality Fitness, we vary them up, which is great. It's really important as well, and I'll get onto that later. But one of the ways that we do that is we do one exercise focusing on one area. We take a short rest. We go 40 seconds or so on that area. We take a 20-second or so rest, and then we do 40 seconds or so on a different area. And then we go around and we repeat that cycle again. So that gives our body the chance to rest that first area for an adequate amount of time before we went back and did the next set on that area. Which is important because you're going to see more of a challenge or more of a good performance for your body if you're giving it the right rest in between your sets of your exercise. Now, you want to think about how much weight do you need for these exercises, or how much resistance do you need for these exercises? And I'll talk about that in a little bit. That's my next tip. But I want to make sure I go over the body area thing that Glenda was talking about. So, and also I'll kind of tie into that. Some people have said, do I need a full day of rest in between my workout? Or can I do workouts back to back? And the answer is that if you are more of like a power lifter, like you were like more of like a bodybuilder or a power lifter, or this was your, you were training for some type of competition or show, or this is kind of your world, you would train heavy on one body area, one maybe upper body heavy one day, and then you would rest that body area the next day and maybe do lower body. And then you would go, along the other way. Hang on, I have a chat here, I think. Ooh, I lost it. I don't know why I'm losing my controls. All right, I'll get to that in a minute. You want to, so if you were really, really intense about your workouts, you would want that rest break in between. But since we are not power lifters, I don't think any of us are, and not bodybuilders, we can do our workouts back to back. It's okay. I mean, it would be good if you did a strength day and then maybe the next day you did more of like a walking or some cardio or something like that, and then you did another strength day. That would be great. But it's not going to hurt you if you go back to back days on your strength training if you're not fully maxing out. So power lifters or, those kind of people really max out their muscles. They're like going to the point where they can't do another single repetition. They're really working their muscles hard, and they truly need that rest period. But if we still have some fuel in the tank at the end of our workout, we can do another workout the next day. That would be okay. And we try to do our workouts more so on the full body. So through Vitality Fitness, we try to do more of a full body workout each time, because we find that you need all of those muscles, right? Not many people, sometimes they'll lean a little bit more upper body or a little bit more lower body, but it's not that often that you're getting we're not always scheduling exactly who's going to come to which workout, right? And so we want to make sure that you get a full body workout each time. So it's okay to do a full body workout. And if you wanted to do, certain body areas by the time, you would end up doing probably more workouts through the week to get all of those body areas in. Does that make sense? Because you still want your 2 workouts for your upper body, or your 2 good workouts for your upper body and 2 good workouts for your lower body. So if you're doing them separate, you would end up getting more workouts in through the week, which is not really like as possible for everyone. We try to get that full body experience so that you can get a great workout in. And then if you get another one in, awesome. All right, so that is my tip there on how much do I need and what body areas should I be attacking. My next tip here we go, talks about that second principle of strength training that I wanted to talk about, and that's progressive overload. So your body, if you are doing the same challenge each time, will improve. It will get used to it. It will get good at it, and that's awesome. So we want to challenge our body a little bit more every time we do a workout. So not every single time. We don't have to challenge it every single time we do a workout. But if our body is starting to get used to that challenge, we want to vary it. So let's say every single time I worked out, I did 2-pound bicep curls. And I worked out 3 times a week, and I did it for a few weeks. After a while, those 2-pound bicep curls really would be like kind of a walk in the park for me. I could keep doing it, but it wouldn't really be a challenge for my body. And it really, at that point, wouldn't be doing too much for my muscles. I need to challenge my muscles a little bit more each time. So when I pick my resistance for my workout, I want to find a weight or a resistance, whether it's a free weight or a exercise band. So these are the different things I'm talking about with resistance. You want to find one that by the end of the set, so like at the 8th repetition or the 12th repetition, whichever you're doing for your reps, you're feeling a bit of a challenge. So it should be like, kind of pretty hard. Like you could do a few more repetitions. It's not like you couldn't do one more, but you could do a few more, but those few would be pretty hard. Like they would be like really, really getting there. So you want to find the weight that's a good challenge for you by that last repetition. You want to still be able to maintain your technique. So if you're not able to maintain your technique, then you need to lower down your weight, or maybe you're not quite ready for it, or even go through body movement first. If we were just talking about that simple bicep curl example, you would just go through body movement first if you couldn't maintain your technique by the last set. And you can adjust these so since I said we're doing multiple sets of our exercises, you can adjust them through your sets. So sometimes you might start out with what you think is kind of a medium challenge for your body for the first set. And then maybe the second and third set, you did a little bit harder of a challenge for your body. And then maybe the last set, you dropped it down a little bit and it was a little less of a challenge for your body. So that's a way that you can get a couple sets in that are a little bit harder for your body without taking it to extremes the whole workout. And you can kind of test it that way. Like, I know I did the first set pretty well. That felt pretty good. I think I can do more. I'll do a heavier weight for my next set, or I'll hold that resistance band tighter for my next set, hold it closer together or hold it a little further in. That will make it harder. And then I will get more of a challenge for that exercise. Make sense? Yeah. Awesome. All right. And then my fifth tip here is talking about the different ways that you can challenge your body in your workout. So what are ways that you can make that exercise harder for you? Let's say you don't have a different set of weights. Maybe you only have one resistance band, or you only have one set of weights, and you don't quite know how to make that exercise harder. So you can make that exercise harder by going slower. And that sounds like kind of counterintuitive, but you can go slow with that exercise. And that will challenge your muscles, keeping your technique. That will challenge your muscles even more. And then the next way you could do it is through power. And we use power all the time at Vitality Fitness. You might not know it because we don't call it power, but we use words like give it some oomph, or go quickly with this first part and slow down on the second part. Or what else do we say? Give it a burst. That's when we're using our power. And power is when you're adding speed to a movement. So sometimes we do things nice and slowly, and we're really working on our stability and our strength. And sometimes we're adding in that power or that speed once we feel like it's able, you're feeling that stability, you have that stability, we'll add in a little bit of speed. So that could be as simple as if you were going to do, let's say you were going to do a sit to stand exercise where you're going to stand up from the chair and then sit back down. Instead of going up and down at the same rate, you would go up quickly, and then you could lower down a nice and steady state. And a lot of times we do it with a combination of these two top tips here, the slow and the power, where we will stand up quickly, and then we'll take that slow lowering descent. That second part of the exercise is called that eccentric lowering, and using that part as the slower part is really good. That works your muscles really in a good way, and you'll see a lot more carryover into your daily life if you're using those two tips. So if you're using that, like let's say same thing if we were doing that bicep curl, if you did a quick bicep curl and then you slowly lowered it down, that would be using power and eccentric lowering, and you would see much more gains into your daily life with those muscles if you were using those techniques. A couple other ways that we challenge our body with exercise, or challenge our workouts with different ways to use our exercise, is through a hold. So maybe we were doing our squats. So we were, up and we went halfway down, and then we were coming back up again. We would maybe hold at that low spot, and maybe hold it for a count of 5, or hold it for a count of 2, or hold it for a count of 10. The longer you're able to hold it, the stronger you are, the more progressed you are in your workout. And then another way to increase the challenge on your exercise is adding time under tension. So making your muscles work longer. So if we were talking about that bicep curl, instead of just curling up and then lowering back down, I could, and I'll kind of let you see my arm here, I could curl, go halfway, curl, and then lower down. So I had more time under tension. My muscles were working longer. So I curled it, I went halfway, but I was still holding that tension in my bicep. I curled it up again, and then I slowly lowered it down. So my muscles had to work all that much more longer to hold that tension. and work my muscles through that time. And then the last way, or there's probably 100 different ways that you could vary your exercises, but the last way that I'm going to talk about today is through supersetting. And so that's when we add a secondary exercise that works a very similar muscle group right back to back. So like 2 different bicep curls. So sometimes we'll do just a regular bicep curl in Vitality Fitness. Sometimes we'll do a wide bicep curl where you're tucking those elbows in, curling up this way and coming down. So you're back to back with 2 exercises that are very similar for your muscles. Sorry about the dog. They're very similar for your muscles, but they are challenging the same muscle group, but 2 times in a row. So maybe I did a full set of regular bicep curls. I did my 8 reps of my regular bicep curls. And then my next exercise, I did some wide bicep curls right here. So my elbows are tucked in. I'm coming up on an outer curl there. Or maybe I did some shoulder presses here where I'm right here. And then I did some double shoulder presses right afterwards. That's a superset when you're working the same muscle group, but you're doing 2 exercises in a row. So if you don't quite have the right weight for your challenge to challenge your body, you can do so by making 2 exercises that work that similar muscle group back to back. And we do a variety of all of these different techniques in our workouts at Vitality Fitness. The awesome thing about working with us, and I'll change the slide, is it's magic, right? We take the guesswork out of it. You know, we do it for you. We take all of these principles that I've been talking about, and we work through these things to design our workouts in a very specific way. We really do put a lot of thought in our workouts, and every single workout is different. And we make sure that you're starting with that stability, that you're getting some stability in your muscles, you're getting the strength in your muscles. And then we're sprinkling in some power, or sprinkling in some of those supersets where you're working your muscles a little bit harder. So sometimes people are like, wow, I still feel like every workout is a challenge. That's a good thing. We do that on purpose. Like you are getting better, you are getting stronger, you are going to see the results in your day, but you still are going to be challenged by every workout, and that's a good thing. We're doing that on purpose. You know, we're saying like, if, you know, we're giving those options for if you're not quite ready for this, here's your option, you can do this one. But if you're ready to push it a bit, this is the next one. We're pushing you each time safely, but we're pushing you each time to make sure you're getting the most out of every workout. All right, let's see. Any questions? Let me make sure. Oh, Margie was having a bad storm come through. Any questions? Let me see if I